the conversation that we're having right now about this doc is Jordan's leadership and his method, his style of demanding from his teammates, and how it really wore on him, it seems, but he didn't care. He basically said, if you don't agree with me, it's because you haven't won anything. What do you think of when you hear that, Ray?
Yeah, look, there are so many different styles of leadership, and take his, in particular, that leadership came from being denied something. I mean, you go back and if you research Michael Jordan's history, it's one thing to watch it now and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he was like that. It's another thing to read his story enough to understand that one kid that was cut from a basketball team that they said he wasn't good enough to do it, and the things that came along with that. And that deals a mentality, right? And it's the exact mentality as a lion. A lion don't freaking hang out with hyenas. A lion don't get up and hang out with zebras. A lion take care of his pride every day. And Jordan had a mentality like a lion. Like he went at it. It's Kobe Bryant had that mentality. And sometimes you can look at it, right, as being, a dictator and really being harsh. And some of it can really be viewed that way, Rich. I tell you, somebody who changed my perspective about that was Mike Singletary. When Mike Singletary coached me, and there was a time we was playing the Jets. I'll never forget it. And Mike Nolan was the defensive coordinator at the time. He called a defense that I knew was not going to work. It wasn't the right defense to be in a run, style offense. And I'm losing my mind on the field, just losing my mind. And I came to the field, and this was captured on the sideline, of course, on video. Mm-hmm. But Singletary grabs me and he says, look at me. He says, look at me. And, I'm heated at this time, Rich. I'm like losing my mind. And he's like, look at me. And I'm like, okay, sir. I'm like, Coach, I'm looking. And he's like, Ray, you can't do this. There's no way you can do that. If we give you something, but it forever changed my leadership style. Why? Because I understood that you can't speak to everybody a certain way. So when you think about how Jordan did it, I'm telling you, a lot of that comes from the things that he didn't have or was taken away from him before he was Michael Jordan. And that is, he didn't have a plan B, and I'm telling you, like, when you think about my podcast, like Everyday Greatness, the reason why I'm starting this podcast for that, Rich, is that simple message. Like, how many of us still to this day will sit down and question Bruce Lee to ask Bruce Lee, what is greatness? What is it? What made you turn that on and never turn it off, right? A good friend of mine go home, or a good friend of all of us, Kobe Bryant, right? Wouldn't you want to know what that greatness is? Like, why, what fired you? What got you ignited? And it's the same thing with Jordan. It's the same thing with Michael Phelps. If you can go down the line of all of these incredible stories of these athletes and men who've done so many things, but we don't have the essence of it. And so when you watch this last ride with Jordan, all you saw was the essence of, I don't have a plan B. There's no other option for me. This is what I'm built to do this. I'm born to do this, and there's no other direction but straightforward to get this done. And look, some people could call it hard, some people could call it crazy, but if you get results the way that they got results. Listen, I don't never condone disrespecting a man to a certain way, but there are certain leaders that were built with one mentality, and that is, I don't have a second option. I talk to my kids, I talk to people around the world about that all the time. Social media and these new outlets, and they've given us plan B. Mm-hmm. Rich, when I was growing up, I didn't have a plan B. There's no plan B. The only plan I had was a man that's sitting across from me. He can't beat me. Why? Because he can't outwork me. What does that mean? The same many jumpers that Michael Jordan shot behind that house. The same jumpers that Kobe Bryant shot behind that house when nobody else was down there, when nobody else was behind that house. And that's the essence of what a leader, that you can't it's almost like you can't mold that again.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.